If you're a LEGO City fan, then watch out, because there are a load of sets retiring from the theme this year. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through what they are, so you can keep your eyes peeled for a deal on them before they disappear from shelves. And if you're interested to know on what the best investment options are on these sets and where the best places to get them at a discount is, I've got a separate video on that you can watch for free over on Rumble, link in the description down below. We'll kick things off with this, the Cargo Train set 60198. This one has been out for quite a while, since 2018. Now, it is worth noting that in some regions this is already retired, the United States being one of them. And there are still places that you can pick it up for less than what that RRP was. So if you're interested in that, check out that video over on Rumble. However, for the regions that it is still available in, at retail, rather than just the secondary market, of course, places like Bricklink and eBay, where you'll always be able to pick stuff like this up, for those regions where this is still available, it's an interesting set. If trains aren't particularly your thing, you're not going to be as inclined to go for this set, but then if you are building a bit of a city setup, then something like this can really add to it. It was also, if memory serves correctly, the first time that we had a train set that introduced a new powered-up system with Bluetooth operation, and for a start, it's actually really good that this set came with the power-up functionality included. A lot of time that LEGO don't do that, probably because it costs so much money. Maybe it's fitting that this set is built around a bit of a heist, as certainly when it comes to the powered-up functionality in sets, you certainly need a lot of money in order to buy them. Despite that quite high retail price tag, though, this was a pretty intricate set. It came with a good range of minifigs, a lot of side builds, a decent amount of track, as well as a good train, and as I've already mentioned, that power-up functionality. And overall, it had a good size to it as well. So it is quite an impactful display piece. Trains for the city lineup that you can make a really good display with have also been lacking. So if this is one that you haven't yet added to your collection, you're not going to have too much time left in order to do so. Next up on the retirement list, going chronologically by set number that is this, the Mobile Police Dog Training Set. Now, this was quite expensive again in the States. Just look at the price difference there in comparison to the UK. So over here, it's about 9 pence per piece. Over in the States, around 15 cents per piece, somewhere in between in other regions like Europe and Australia. Did, however, come with a couple of unique minifigs. That's still the case to this day. As far as I am aware, this was first released back in January 2023, and we haven't seen these again since. Now, whilst this scene is generally aimed more at the younger LEGO fan, it's not going to add too much to an overall city layout. In fairness, the actual police vehicle and the trailer, they're pretty good. Although one thing that I would note is that the police have not bothered to clear up after their dog over there in the park, and that is certainly a finable offence. Strange that they're not enforcing that upon themselves. Now, of course, as far as the dogs themselves are concerned, you get an adult one and a little puppy that come with this set too, and the park itself is just a few little add-ons. In reality, the main interest point here are the animals, the couple of minifigs, and mainly the truck. Now, if this is one that you want to pick up, you have until the end of the year to do so. Technically, the retirement date is the 31st of December. Just bear in mind that that can change. Okay, these can move forwards and backwards. For example, that cargo train. So if you do spot a deal on these on a set that you're wanting, you want to act on it, because whilst a couple of these sets might actually end up pushing over into 2026 before they retire, most of them will disappear this year, and it could be sooner rather than later. Next up is set 60374, the Fire Command Truck, a 7+ set, but nonetheless a pretty impressive looking fire engine that comes in this set. There's not a huge amount of pieces, but on a price per piece basis, the retail pricing for this in pretty much all regions is certainly not great, but better than many of the city sets that we have in this lineup. And whilst this is certainly focused around playability, it's the sort of thing that, once again, if you are lucky enough to have a bit of a city display that you're building up, this is going to lend itself to it. It's also one of only 3 sets to actually contain this medium nougat coloured bunny or hare. If you are into collecting your animals, that is something to bear in mind with this. The main draw, of course, though, is the fire truck, and with the little builds that can go into it too, it's not really one to disappoint. It's got a good amount of playability and a decent displayability factor to it as well. Next on the retirement list is 60391. This one originally introduced in June of 2023. Now, at initial glance, you may think this is fairly expensive, and true it is, but then it is a 4+ set. And in all fairness, it actually comes with a good range of decently sized vehicles and also minifigures. Yes, the couple of little side builds here are almost pointless, but for the vehicles themselves, I think that is really good to get that included with the set. And it does mean that on a price per piece basis, this is actually a fairly decent set for something that's 4+. I mean, usually they can be ridiculously overpriced. In all fairness, I don't feel that is the case here. It gives a good amount to play with and obviously some build enjoyment too. So definitely one for the younger LEGO fans. The actual design of the vehicles themselves, they're not going to really look right in an actual city display setup. They're too basic, let's be honest. But for the audience it's aiming at, I think that this really does achieve pretty well. So if you're looking for a gift for a young LEGO fan, some of the much more recent sets to come out, they are staggeringly expensive, and you look at them and think they're just really overpriced. This, not too bad from a retail point of view, but actually can be picked up at a discount in quite a lot of different regions from multiple other retailers. It's not exclusive to LEGO. So if you do that, then I'd say this is a pretty good set to go for. And as a little bit of an add-on, 60401, the construction steamroller, this is also going to be retiring too. Then next up, we have the rather Mr. Beastish colours in the race car and car carrier truck. This is set 60406. Originally released in January of last year, 2024. Now, beyond the colour scheme, there's not really anything particularly standoutish about this set. A little bit of fun to be had with it. It's an okay truck and car. I'd say the truck really needs to be bigger than it actually is. But hey, this one is very much all about play. It does come with 2 minifigs we haven't seen in sets since, in terms of obviously the torso printing that we've got here. Sadly, none on the legs, but hey, what are you going to expect in a set like this? It's just quirky and fun, and if that appeals to you, then you might want to get it before it retires. That said, if you're interested in a much more impressive sort of car carrier truck, then set 60408 is far more likely to be for you, this being the car transporter truck with sports cars. I think it's pretty safe to say that whilst there obviously have been some other car transport trucks previously, there's not been many, and this is by far and away the best out of them. I love the fact that it comes with 3 cars, each of which have their own minifigure, exactly the sort of thing that LEGO would normally omit, so that we just randomly have a car without a driver. Not the case here. They each come with one, and they can be interchanged, so you can pretty much create whatever kind of car that you want by switching the pieces around on these. And that again is another big bonus. As for the cab itself and the truck as a whole, it's really quite satisfying. It looks fairly realistic in the way that it's put together. And this is definitely one that is going to add a lot of intrigue to an overall city setup. Yes, again, it's supposedly aimed at the younger LEGO fan, but don't be fooled. This is definitely one for adults as well. It's going to look really good from a display perspective. Now, from a playability point of view, it is slightly irritating that because these cars are so low, you can't sort of just sweep them up onto the ramp. The bumpers just hit onto here and get stuck on the way up, but I am nitpicking there. Overall, this is a really good set, and one that I would happily recommend to all City fans. So definitely watch out for picking this up on a discount before it retires this year. There are some to be had at the moment. Again, check out that video over on Rumble. I'll give you an investment outlook for this and also show you where you can pick this up at the moment for the best deal. Link in the description below. Moving on, we come to set 60409. This is the yellow mobile construction crane that was only introduced in June of last year, 2024. So at time of recording this, it's actually been out less than a year. However, it is on the retirement list. Again, that's not until the end of the year, so you've got until December unless it suddenly comes forward. I don't expect it to do so on this one. Nonetheless, it is going to be on the way out, and that's a shame because this is a really good set. We've had a fair few cranes over the years, but nothing on this size and scale and attention to detail. The sheer amount of movement and the way that this truly does work is pretty outstanding. I actually can't see how they could have possibly made this any better at this size and with this particular piece count. There is a lot of faithful recreation here. Yes, there are certain things that aren't true to form, but in order to get those in as well, if you want to get really nerdy about it, then this would have to become a whole lot bigger just simply to be able to fit the pieces in. So working with those constraints, I think that this is absolutely fantastic. I'd also go so far as to say that you cannot have a proper city setup without having this included in it. It really is just such an integral part of that whole world, and an incredible set with a fair amount of cheekiness involved too. You know, it's fun, it's great for playability, but if you're a collector just looking for a really cool display piece to enjoy the build of, because this is an enjoyable building experience. There's not a huge amount of repetition in here. It's quite fun to put together, certainly interesting in places. If you're a collector that wants that, and then to have something that is going to really complement your city setup, then this is it. It's a really great set. So if for any reason that you haven't gone for it so far, maybe it's a case of you're just waiting for a good deal, or it's something that's sort of gone under the radar for you so far, don't make the mistake of missing out on this one. Ultimately, with all of these sets, yes, if you do miss out on them and they retire, you can always pick them up on the secondary market. But let's face it, with everything that's going on with economics over the world at the moment, nobody really knows what's going on, I don't think, but something we can be fairly confident of is that prices are pretty much only going to go up wherever you are. Very unlikely that they're going to be going down. So as is the case with all of these sets, if you want them, keep your eyes out for a deal at the moment and pick them up before they retire, rather than relying on potentially getting them off of Bricklink or eBay afterwards. There are obviously some great deals to be had there, not saying otherwise, but usually at that point you are going to start paying a bit of a premium. Next up is one that is unarguably quite a bit smaller. This is a 5+ set, being 60412, the 4x4 fire truck with rescue boat. Originally released in January 2024, and clearly this chap has not watched enough of Smokey the Bear, because you shouldn't be setting fires that close to your tent. Thankfully, we get a nice little fire truck with this one, no stickers because of the age range, and also a little boat that comes along with it too. The side build is simply there for storytelling purposes. That's not really anything to write home about, but these 3 minifigs are unique to this particular set in terms of the printing. So this one just a bit more of a fun set for kids once again. Not terrible as a retail price, not great either. Just pretty average all round in that regard, but I do like the fact that for a pretty small set, we get a truck and a little boat included. That is definitely a bonus. Now, staying with the fire rescue theme, set 60413 is of course the fire rescue plane. This one actually a little bit better from a retail price in the States. Price per piece, it's around 11.5 cents. That's actually the same in Europe and even over in the UK, which on the face of it, you think, okay, is pretty fair. But of course, when you take currency conversion into account, it really isn't priced so well over in places such as that. So definitely a better retail price in the States. Nonetheless, though, look, the main draw here is the plane. It's been quite a while since there was one dedicated to fire and rescue, and this is certainly sizable, packed full of features. There's a lot of fun to be had with it. Okay, it's not something that really, because of its size, is going to integrate very well into a city setup. Nonetheless, I'm sure that there is a place that could be found for it. Visually, it's not going to look too out of step because it is fairly impressive. However, it is one that's definitely more aimed at playability, and I think it achieves that super well. You can see that it's going to be very swooshable because of the size of it, and a lot of entertainment to be had there. Now, also released in January of 2024 was this, the Police Mobile Crime Lab truck, being set number 60418. I can't say that this is one that I was particularly a fan of. I didn't really enjoy the color scheme, and the way that the truck is actually shaped isn't too realistic in certain places. Nonetheless, it is a decent size, has capacity on the interior for your minifigs, and also comes with a fun little side build of the quad bike too. It's one of the sets where, if you like it, I would say don't go buying it at retail. It's one that you can really pick up fairly hefty discounts on. Now, this brings us on to our next construction-related set, 60420, the yellow construction excavate. And this is one that you really need to sit up and pay attention to because it is a fantastic set. Again, I'm sorry if maybe the construction line for the city theme isn't your thing, but it lends itself so well to city setups as a whole, and this overall build is staggeringly good. The attention to detail here, again, given the overall size and scale, naturally if it was a lot bigger, yes, it could become more detailed, but given the size that it is, which I think is absolutely right for fitting into a city setup, the level of detail that has gone into this and the way that it operates is just fantastic. It really is such a good representation of this machine. We even get some fun little debris to go with it and 3 decent minifigs as well. They're great, but it is all about this excavator. The way that it operates once you've got it built is really satisfying. The build experience itself is also very good. Yes, there are a few stickers which I famously hate, but actually there's not too many, and the ones that we have here do add something to it. Would I like printed tiles? I always do, but actually this is one of the situations where I don't mind them, especially as the overall price per piece on this set, retail bearing in mind, is very good. It's not very often that I get to say that LEGO does a good job on pricing a set, but I think that they've done this one really quite fairly. It's another that only came out in January of 2024, so whilst I would certainly like to think that this is going to last all the way through until December of this year, there is always that chance that it might go sooner, and I really feel that this is one that every City fan needs to have, whether it is for sheer playability, of which there is plenty, whether it is to go in a City setup overall for a display piece, or a mixture of the two. This is definitely one, whether it's for young LEGO fans, AFOLs that just want to have a nice build, or even collectors as well. Now, again, for an investment outlook on this set, what you want to be paying for it, where the best places to buy it are, check out that video over on Rumble, link in the description below. Overall, this is a super set, one that you should not miss out on. It's basically an absolute classic, and one that I think will be enjoyed and also referenced back to quite a lot in the years to come. Next on the retirement list is set 60421. This is the Robot World Roller Coaster Park, only released back in June of 2024. So again, less than a year as I'm currently recording this. It's not going to have a hugely long lifespan. Straight away, let's just address the color combinations. You either like it or you don't. For me, I don't. It's not the sort of colors that I like. That said, great to actually get them, you know, especially when it comes to MOCs, then having new colors introduced is always fantastic. And I'm certainly digging the track in the green too. But anyway, putting that aside, just focusing on the build itself, this is one that has a whole bunch of fun put into it. It's pretty sizable. You've got plenty of space for all of your minifigures. There's 8 that comes with this set. They all fit in there nicely. The little roller coaster itself is obviously manual. It's not motorized. Let's be honest and fair, you wouldn't expect that in a set like this, but it's cool. It also comes with this pretty decent mech too. It's just out there, fun, wacky, and isn't terribly priced once again. I think that the overall build experience of this, the impact as a display piece, because it is pretty sizable, and the overall playability that you can get from this really does rank it up there pretty highly. There are also some really great discounts on this, depending on region, that are available at the moment. So if it does appeal to you, then make sure to look out for that. It's not going to have had the longest lifespan at all, but it's actually a pretty cool set to own. Now, also originally released in June of last year was the Seaside Harbour with cargo ship in set 60422. I gave this a little bit of a hard time when it was first released, not because I thought it was bad, but just because I was disappointed that it sort of fell short of what it could have been. The cargo ship should have and could have been a bit larger, and also our docks here, whilst there's certainly stuff going on, for example, with the crab restaurant, etc., and, you know, the little fishermen on the pier, it's a little bit bare in places. There should have been some more details going on in there, a few more animals, birds, etc. that could have been included. That would have made pretty much all the difference for this set. As it is, we get a lot of sort of just exposed studs and empty space. That's the negative side of this. On the plus side, there's a nice range of minifigures, and of course, this is a set that does integrate really well into a overall city display. It goes with other city sets and even friend sets, I think, purely because of the color scheme. You know, there's quite a few colors going on in here, and so it's one of the sets that you could integrate with friends fairly well. It does have a decent mix of play and display, and once again, won't have had the longest of shelf life, so definitely not a bad set. Could have been a bit better, I feel, but 100% adds something to the world. So if it's one for you, then don't miss out. Now, next up is one of my favorites. It's the Jungle Explorer Off-Road Truck in set 60426, the return of Johnny Thunder. Now, this, again, only released in June of 2024, but don't be fooled, it is going to be going on the way out. You know, last year when I did a similar video, I said how the Jungle Explorer waterplane that we see here was going to retire, and how it was a fantastically priced set that you needed to get your hands on. Quite a few people said that I was wrong and that it wasn't going to retire, etc. Look, I wasn't wrong. I do hold my hands up and say that this is a certain amount of supposition. Some things can move backwards and forwards, but I'm not randomly picking things out of the air, okay? There's good information that this is based upon. So yes, it was a very short shelf life. This slightly longer, but still pretty short. That's the whole purpose that I'm doing this video now, to give some time throughout the rest of the year where you can look for these sets that you're after, pick them up at a good deal. Now, as far as this one is concerned, it came with a pretty decent truck and some good minifigs. Of course, Johnny is the one that most people were excited about. As for the little side build, I don't feel that's bad either. Of course, the big attraction is the tiger. Fantastic to get that tiger mold. And we won't forget the little frog either, because of course that makes or breaks a set. You've got to have a little frog in there. Now, some people were pleased to see the return of the sort of jungle theme. Others were disappointed that there wasn't more to it. Look, I can see it from both respects. Would I like more? Absolutely. Is it the same as those classic sets of old? No, it's not, but at least they're bringing it back in some form or another, and I'd really like to see more. Well, we are going to be getting more, actually, of the jungle theme. There's other sets they've been trialling that are coming out, but specifically more like this, and also for them to expand it potentially into desert scenes that we used to have from Johnny Thunder in the Adventure series. So if all things like that are a possibility, that would be fantastic. But certainly as far as this particular set is concerned, it's a decent price. It's not the best, to be fair, out of these ones that they released. Not the best value for money, if we're talking retail price here. But it's still pretty good. It's a great truck. It's good fun. And certainly just from collectors who like the nod and a wink to nostalgia and the return of Johnny, this is definitely one not to miss out on. Okay, so bear that in mind. Now, a pretty small one next in 60429, this being a 4+ set of Spaceship and Asteroid Discovery. And yes, it is very small, but to be fair, for a 4+ set, this is actually on the cheaper end of things, certainly price per piece. Base-wise, it's a lot more reasonable, and it's kind of fun. Look, I don't like it when they're quite this small, simply because it doesn't give a huge amount for a kid to build, and certainly not to play with, but the ship itself, that is just about the right size. Swooshability wise, there is some fun to be had. These side builds, I don't really see how that's going to attract that much attention. I think you could get bored with that fairly quickly, and there's certainly not much building pleasure to be had there, but at least the ship itself, that is quite fun. Now, the next set is apparently aimed still at quite younger audience, 6+ this set, but quite frankly, I think there's many an adult that would enjoy this one as well. This is a set 60431, of course, being the Space Explorer rover and alien life, and it's all about this main build of our rover here. The little side build, quite frankly, is just pointless, and I hate it when they do stuff like this. I know they have to include a little bit of terrain, but it's frankly taking the you-know-what when they just do something quite this small and pathetic. It's pretty much just thrown in there to try and help justify the price a little bit, which does range. Okay, it's not too bad, but it very much depends on region with this particular set. The pricing is a little bit all over the place. One of the really cool things about this, though, is the suspension that is on this rover, and it is not swooshable, of course, because it's not a plane, but whatever the alternative term is, it's very fun to play with, and it looks good while it's doing it. It's also great to get these big tires. Just general pieces included with this set are cool, and I feel that regardless of what age you are, this is something that is just nice and enjoyable to build, looks good, and you're gonna have fun playing with it too. Now that brings me on to 60433 and the modular space station, a little bit more expensive again, although very similar on a price per piece basis across different regions. And it's really quite different in the way that it's put together. There's effectively a lot of little separate sub-builds, which you can have fun with here, which you can obviously combine into our one big modular space station. And whilst I feel that that isn't the best thing from a displayability point of view, it really ranks up there very highly on the playability side of things. And again, I say that I'm not necessarily talking about for the younger Lego fan here, okay? When I talk about playing, I'm perfectly open to just enjoying having some fun with the bricks as an adult as well. And if you look at the picture here, you can see that it is actually a fairly sizable set. Quite a bit of enjoyment that can be found with this, and it can be rearranged in different ways too. So purely for the fun factor, I'd say that this does have to rank up there pretty highly. And if that's something that you're interested in, then again, make sure you don't miss out before this retires. Now that brings us on to the largest out of the City space-related sets that was released in 2024, this being 60434, the Space Base and Rocket Launch Pad. Now, retail price on this actually, again, isn't too unreasonable if we look at it on a price per piece basis, but it has been available on discount pretty heavily, again, across most regions at one point or another since its release, actually. I mean, it was on sale really very quickly. So it's important, again, to make sure that you don't go paying retail price for this. But as far as the set itself is concerned, there's mostly pros and very few cons. Again, I'm not a huge fan of the very small bits of terrain that they pretty much just add in for the sake of it, but the main builds themselves are really impressive. Okay, you can see here there's a good size to this. There's plenty of space for our minifigs and alien life to be exploring, and it also comes with the ship too. All of that lends itself into a set that has a really good impact from that visual display point of view, but the play factor that's involved here as well, it's just fantastic. So whether you are looking at a really good gift for a younger Lego fan, or whether this is something for yourself that you want to get, build, enjoy, have an actually quite enjoyable build experience, because it's pretty good with this set, and then have something that is going to look good on a shelf or a coffee table or whatnot, this does a really good job of that. Now, the next set after that, chronologically, of course, is 60435, the Tow Truck and Sports Car Repair. This is also retiring. It's just a little 4+ set. Nothing too much to say about that other than, look, the vehicles are fairly basic, of course, but they're also pretty decent. Nice couple of minifigs in there too. And of course, any 4+ set that does include a vehicle of one description or another has that added play factor to it. So if that's the sort of set that you look out for, that is also on the way out. Now, returning to the jungle theme is set 60437, the Jungle Explorer helicopter at base camp. And look, first and foremost, the first thing that people were really excited about when this originally released were the gorillas. And it was brilliant to get those. The terrain that they're on, it's okay. Actually, still a little bit small, but it does give you the idea. You can just about fit them on there, and at least there's a bit of colour and character going onto it, as opposed to the tiny bits of terrain that were included in those space sets. Nonetheless, the main thing, of course, is the helicopter. Yes, there are some fun little side builds, but it is all about this helicopter, which I really like the colour scheme of. Again, I know this is split opinions. Some people like it, others don't. Only you know which camp you're in that regard. For me, I do quite like it. Overall, I find that the size of it is very impressive. Got a good amount of space inside, or indeed on top, for our minifigs to be enacting their different roles. You know, it's a shame that they couldn't have done it so that our rotors actually turned in opposite directions to one another, but I guess that would have just made it a little bit more, I don't know, difficult, or maybe I'm excusing it. Perhaps they were just lazy. Who knows? Anyway, at least along with the bike and the boat, etc., which you can put in or out, it does add a lot more enjoyment to this set. It is overpriced, I feel. Okay, the retail price for this, even considering the size of the main build, the minifigs and the gorillas, which I think they were banking on when they originally released this to be quite a big draw, which, to be fair, they were quite right about. The retail price for this was a little bit high. So definitely one that you need to be picking up on a discount if you manage that, though. What an amazingly good set it is. Very swooshable, really impressive. The most visually impressive out of all of the jungle sub-theme sets that they gave us last year for the city lineup. Now, also on the way out is 60439, the Space Science Lab, another little add-on for the space sub-theme that they were pumping out quite a bit last year. This one a 6+ set. Pretty small, fairly cramped on the inside, not a huge amount of playability. Decent colour arrangement, though, and certainly has some good points about it. I just always have to question when they do, you know, a young set like this, a 6+ set, how much fun does this actually give a kid? Yes, it works excellently in conjunction with 60434, but not everybody can afford to buy both sets. So if this was a standalone one, then I'd say there's not a huge amount of fun to be had with it. But again, that purely depends on who you're buying it for and why you're buying it. Okay, if it is for you, once again, that is on the retirement list. That'll be gone by the end of this year. Now, next up is one that may surprise some of you. It's set 60444, the F1 garage with Mercedes and Alpine cars in. This was only released in January of this year, 2025, and yet it's down to be gone by the end of the year. So it will have had a pretty short run. This is one, I will admit, could potentially go on over into 2026. I'm always a little bit more hesitant when we're looking at ones that are quite this short of a lifespan. Nonetheless, it is down on there for retirement. So whilst there are certainly sets that they do postpone retirement on, ones like this, it tends not to happen as much. So although it might slip back, it's not going to be by that much. The moral of the story, therefore, is if you do want this, perhaps you're building out all the different F1 sets that they've been releasing. If you're wanting this one, then keep your eyes peeled for a good price on it and pick it up when you do find that, because it certainly won't be spending a huge amount of time on shelves. Back to space now, though, and again, just before people ask, I'm purely going through this chronologically. I know it's a little bit annoying sometimes, hopping back and forth, but take that up with Lego, because we're going through this by set number. This is 60446, the modular galactic spaceship, and one that is definitely pretty swooshable. It's a 7+ set, but again, I don't really feel like this is limited just to the younger Lego fan. There's plenty of fun to be had with this one. and it doesn't look bad either once it is finished. Got a pretty decent color schemes, a good size to it as well, and naturally is going to integrate really nicely purely because of its overall design with those other space sub-theme sets that they have been releasing. Now this little 5+ set is also going, set 60448, the red sports car. I've never been a fan of this. I mean, look, the sports car itself is just very small and okay, I suppose, kind of a little bit fun to play with, but I mean, even then, it's really pushing it, in my opinion. I also find it a little bit almost irresponsible that they're putting a minifig holding a mobile phone with a sports car. I'm not quite sure what message it is that they're trying to send there. Anyway, it's just a cheap little set, isn't it, that's meant for a bit of fun. So nothing more to say about it than that. It is also going to be retiring. Same goes for 60449, the off-road police car chase. They're pretty weird looking vehicles, to say the least. In that respect, not aimed, I would say, at collectors looking to build out their city setup. But for a bit of fun, in fact, a fair bit of fun, to be honest, for kids to have, I think that this does achieve it pretty well. They're a decent-sized couple of vehicles, certainly a good amount of play factor, and you even get a couple of little side builds as well. So in terms of realism or anything like that, pretty low down there on the details front. But for just sheer fun, well, this set definitely does boast that. Now, food trucks are always pretty popular, and the donut truck is no exception. This is set 60452, a fun build. And this is one that really does just go across all age ranges, because whether it's for a young Lego fan who's after something fun, quirky to build and play with, or whether it is for the adults who want to have a quirky food truck to add into the overall city display, this pretty much ticks all of the boxes. So in that respect, it is a good little set to be going for. I certainly always like sets like this. They do put a smile on my face. We've then got 60453, the Lifeguard Beach Rescue Truck. That's on the way out too. Just a fun, colourful build, which I would suggest you definitely shouldn't go paying full price for, but with a reasonable discount on it, fairly good for play and also not bad for display as well. The truck itself doing a pretty good job there, detail and colour-wise, I feel. And then these next two were just fun little wacky add-ons, really, also released in January of this year. The first one being the Pizza vs. Fire Truck Race, the little car pack in set 60458. And also its accompanying set in 60459, the Aeroplane vs. Hospital Bed Race car pack. And both of these just little 5+ sets, cheap, cheerful, fairly easy just to be able to buy these and give them as a gift. And sure, it's a very short build experience, but there is some play that you can do with these, and they are fun. Totally out there, really silly, but fun. And sometimes that's all that they need to be. Now, if you want a ramp to actually send them down, and one that comes with its own bunch of silly vehicular builds, then set 60460, the No Limits race car ramp track, is definitely going to be the one for you. Now, this certainly doesn't work out as nicely on a price per piece basis, but then that's not too hard to see why, given the actual pieces and plates that are included with this. It really is just fun, quirky, colourful. It goes well with those other two previous little sets that we just looked at. I would think it's fair to say that it's not going to appeal to a wide range of people. However, there are going to be some this absolutely does tick the boxes for. So naturally, if you are one of those, then be advised this is also going to be going by the end of the year. There's also 60461, the 4+ set of the Red Farm tractor with trailer and sheep. And I'm actually quite a fan of this little set, simply because I feel that we don't get anywhere near enough agricultural related sets released by Lego in the city lineup. I think there needs to be more of them, preferably ones that aren't just 4+ sets. But hey, at this point, I'll almost take what I can get. And I think that this is just a fun, quirky, very old-fashioned little tractor. I would have really enjoyed if they could have actually put a proper cab on it, but on the flip side of things, at least we get the trailer, and if you do collect animals, there's another couple of sheep and the lamb and the dog in there. So I do feel a bit like I'm clutching at straws, and no pun intended there with this being an agricultural set, but we do really need more, far more detailed and better builds in this subgenre of the city theme, in my opinion. Let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. With that in mind, at least this does offer it a bit of representation. Now, returning to Formula One and set 60464, this also only released in January of this year. This, once again, offering up a pretty short shelf life. Now, I'll say that there's fairly mixed opinions about the different Formula One related sets that have been put forwards. This pretty much one of the weakest ones. But ultimately, if it's the sort of thing that you want to collect, then I've just taken in. They actually gone to the trouble in the marketing shot of putting out little sticky notes to lay out a track. So that's Lego's answer. They'll never give you a track. You just stick little coloured bits of paper down and make one yourself. Oh dear, I really am cynical. So I just find that so stupid. Anyway, at least you now know that this set, if it's for you, is also going to be retiring, and it hasn't been out for that long. Now, for the penultimate one, I'm going to break my own rule and go slightly out of order on the set numbers. This one being 60474, simply because once again it is F1 related. This one being the start line. So a little bit more to the build rather than just the cars themselves, but that is fairly perfunctory. Ultimately, this just comes down mostly to the cars themselves, once again, from a play factor. And yes, to be fair, there is some play, of course, that you can have with these, but I do question how much of that there is. It really feels like with these particular sets, Lego has just been doing the bare minimum to try and obviously get people to buy and accumulate as many of the different F1 related sets as possible. That doesn't sit well with me. It probably doesn't sit well with a lot of people either. So comment down below what you think on that. The key thing to note once again is that this is a set that was only released in January of this year, so that shelf life really not that long. And that brings us on to this, the Scrapyard with Cards, also released in January of this year, being set 60472. And I found this really quite a refreshing set. There was different stuff going on here that we haven't really seen in any of the sets that we've had, certainly in recent years. And the fact you can actually pick the car up, turn it around, dump it down, it does have a good amount of playability to it. The overall size and scale is fun as well. There's couple of vehicles and a decent number of minifigs included too. It's another one of those sets which just allows quite a bit of switching things in and out, swapping and changing. You can really get involved with the set. The build itself is quite interesting to put together, and the fact that you can keep interchanging it and adapting it, that has a longer play value, therefore, in my mind. And also, it doesn't look bad from a displayability point of view either. It's a decent size. The colours aren't too clashy whilst offering up a decent amount of contrast. So definitely does have a pretty broad reach again, certainly as far as the age spectrum is concerned. Plenty of different people that would be interested in this set for multiple reasons. So I do like it. Mind you, what I like or don't like personally, or indeed what you do or don't like personally, has nothing to do with how well these will do as an investment, or indeed what sort of price you should actually be paying for them. If you're interested in that, then make sure to check out the video that I've done over on Rumble. You can watch it for free, only on Rumble. Link in the description down below. For now, though, that is it for all of the city sets currently on the retirement list for this year. If you're interested in other themes, make sure to subscribe. I'll cover those in separate videos.